This Late Night Linux Family podcast is made possible by our patrons. Go to latenightlinux.com/support for details of how you can join them. Support us on Patreon for access to ad-free episodes and early releases. That's latenightlinux.com/support. Hello and welcome to episode 381 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 6th of April 2026. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
Howdy.
Graham.
Good evening.
And Will.
Hello.
A new 3GB Raspberry Pi 4 for $83.75 and more memory-driven price increases. So once again, we've got a post from Eben at Raspberry Pi talking about how the prices of Pis are just going up and up and up and up. And most of the vaguely modern ones are now just ludicrously expensive. And there's not much he can do about it, or any of them can do about it. It's about the price of RAM.
Insert story of Joe talking about his Wise something 7070 or whatever the fuck it is.
5070, yeah.
On Obtanium.
Well, I saw on Facebook Marketplace earlier an 8th gen i5 small form factor Dell Optiplex, and they only want a tenner for it. I don't suppose it's going to last very long. They said it's like got no SSD, maybe, I don't know. But either way, I've messaged them, so I'm waiting to hear back because I'm not letting that go for a tenner. But yeah, there are deals out there on the second-hand market, but even brand new mini PCs make so much more sense for 99% of Pi users.
Okay, well, that assumes that Pi users are using it as a desktop machine.
Or a server.
I still stand by the fact that they should not be using it as a server or anything device where unpatched BIOS, some vulnerabilities are going to cause issue. Because that is the thing. If you get x86, you get all the shite that goes along with it. Whereas at least with the Pi, if you're using it in an industrial setting or a appliance or something professional, for the love of God, don't get a crappy Wise 5070 or whatever you call it.
Which actually is supported by LVFS and gets BIOS updates.
It gets a BIOS update if the BIOS manufacturer releases an update, but it's not like your man Husey is there writing the fucking BIOS updates to secure all the BIOSes everywhere, is it?
No. But I mean, that does assume a level of importance about yourself or your organization that most people don't have.
It's all scripted. It's just absolute scripted nonsense that goes on these days. Every script kiddie will be able to hammer it.
I really don't think that is true. I don't think that BIOS vulnerabilities are as big of a deal as you are making out. I mean, maybe in some very key industrial settings, but for the average home user who wants to run like Jellyfin and Image, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, but you say home user, but I think we've realized by this point that actually it's the industrial customers that are the biggest part of the Raspberry Pi.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I actually am wholeheartedly behind people getting and using this stuff themselves, because at least you're working in a ecosystem that is designed for that. It's not a banger box that you're using to do your home Wi-Fi or whatever.
Well, if you want to pay ridiculous prices for underpowered ARM hardware that has to have a specific image for it and can't just run your standard Ubuntu or whatever distro you want, then yeah, sounds like a great idea.
Looks like you got bought by Big BIOS.
Yeah, Big x86. That's what's funding me.
AMI and Phoenix themed swimming pool.
Yeah, and I can use my mouse in that swimming pool as well. Oh, the exciting world of Office suites again. So we've got two separate stories here that are somewhat related. Forking frenzy ensues after EuroOffice launch sparks OnlyOffice backlash. That's the first one. And then more Document Foundation versus Collabora politics and drama. So the first one, I mean, it boils down to licensing. So it's like a double whammy of excitement here. Office suites and licensing. So OnlyOffice is licensed AGPL 3 with some additional conditions. And then EuroOffice was forked from OnlyOffice, and they kept it AGPL 3, but they didn't adhere to those additional requirements about branding and stuff. And there is something of a legal argument going on here, which we are definitely not qualified to weigh in on, I don't think. Does anyone want to try?
I could be a lawyer in my spare time.
Yeah, the legal aspects, I guess, will work themselves out. But the licensing thing and the fact that organizations are continually surprised when somebody does something that the license allows them to do still shocks me. I understand that OnlyOffice feels like they've got some sense of ownership over their project, and it's a competitor potentially that's going to take some of their business away. But that's the kind of thing you need to go open-eyed into, this kind of licensing thing when you start at the very beginning, knowing this is almost what you want to encourage because that's the idea behind open source. So separate from all the politics of it, of what's happening and what Nextcloud's trying to do, the license allows for it. So it always surprises me when companies like, what? This isn't fair. Well, this is kind of the whole point.
Well, except that OnlyOffice thought that they had protected themselves by adding these additional clauses, these additional aspects to the license about keeping their branding. Like, if you're going to fork it, you have to keep our branding so people know that it's based on OnlyOffice. But like I said, legal opinion seems to be divided on this, like whether that actually stands up.
It would seem slightly absurd that it would. I'm not saying it definitely is, but I don't know. It just seems mental that you would think that it would actually be entitled to be called OnlyOffice forever.
Maybe if they'd written EuroOffice all in caps, that would have been good enough.
Also, all of these names are shit, but none of them are as shit as LibreOffice.
That is true. Well, yeah, the exciting saga of the Document Foundation and Collabora then. So they've properly fallen out, is the bottom line. There was a post by Michael Meeks of Collabora. TDF ejects its core developers, just fucking moaning about how all the people who work for Collabora have been kicked out of the Document Foundation. And then over the Easter weekend, we got a post from the Document Foundation that said, let's put an end to the speculation, and told the whole story. Now, in this whole story, which is really badly written, no offense to whoever wrote it, it was clearly written in a rush and it's really quite hard to follow.
Yeah, by the head of marketing at TDF.
Okay. So anyway, once you wade through this whole post, it seems to be that as far as the Document Foundation is concerned, the Collabora people were causing a bit of a conflict of interest in terms of them bidding for work, essentially, to work on LibreOffice and getting paid, and also being part of the organization that is supposed to be a non-profit, and that was causing them to potentially lose that non-profit status. They tried to sort it out, and in the end, they had to just kick them out to solve the problem. I mean, fuck knows what the truth of it all is, but pretty much the Collabora people are not going to be working on LibreOffice anymore, and LibreOffice is kind of going to be on its own. And so we've kind of got a split into two separate things now, where we had one open source project at the heart of it. Now it seems we're going to have two separate things. So we're getting more fragmentation in the open source Office Suite space. I think that Liam at the Register has got quite an interesting take on this story and the other one with the EuroOffice thing. And that is that because of Trump fucking shit up and this push for European digital sovereignty and all the rest of it, there's a lot of government money sloshing around, and that is probably causing the problems.
I'm surprised by how much I actually care about this. There's several levels. Like, I feel like us lot here in the podcast, we've been at the same party, but we've been getting drunk and going outside and having a smoke. Whereas all the excitement seems to be with the office people who are at the back of the room in their jumpers and, talking stuff. Really, they're the ones having all the sex and doing all the exciting stuff because they just can't agree. It's mad.
That's a great analogy, Graham. Well done.
Thanks.
How much cereal does this have? What?
But I guess what I'm saying is that we suspected Office stuff was important, as boring as it is. And I feel a little bit like LibreOffice, the Document Foundation, I've had it too easy for too long. they've been sitting on something that we've all said numerous times could be a huge benefit to open source. They've not really capitalized on it. And in a way, it's come to this point where they've had to make a decision, and they've been unable to kind of rise to the occasion and move, because I feel like they're kind of astroturfing on open source Office suites. And I say that knowing people who work there, but that's how it feels. What have they done?
What exactly do you mean by astroturfing in this context?
So I've got a lot of respect for them trying to do the right thing, but there's so much more they could have done with the open Office source code in all of those years. And I feel like they've only ever been treading water. And in a way, maybe that's a marketing branding thing where the news of what they're doing doesn't get through to us. But the last time I tried LibreOffice, it doesn't feel like it's moved on so much. And I feel a little bit like people are going to choose LibreOffice. Lots of people are going to use it without them having to do much. And they've kind of benefited from that slightly when they could have done so much more had it been a project that needed to really fight for its existence.
The Register got hold of a Red Hat internal memo that basically says, let's go all in on AI and agents, and all global engineering roles will evolve. The focus will shift from AI as a tool used on occasion to AI automation as a way to scale the delivery of value to customers. So it's only the most important and biggest Linux company just going all in on AI bullshit. Great.
Especially they haven't seen the news from Windows, which has been quite funny, where they seem to be blaming their absolutely rancid QA and the fact that they let all the people go, did a whole load of LLM work, and it's not gone so well.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's this assumption from some people, often the less technical people in management or whatever, that AI and agentic bullshit is a great boon for productivity and speed and all the rest of it. And, I know, Will, you are somewhat of an AI enjoyer, somewhat of an outlier here, but even you can surely see that this is a fucking terrible idea.
I see AI as a very useful tool in the same way that I see a text editor as a very useful tool. When we start talking about mandatory tool usage, it falls somewhere between having like a standardized set of utilities that people in your company use, and that's just the way you do things, being normal, and the amount of executive pressure being put onto engineering teams to use AI being a little bit weird. So I don't know exactly what it is that they are going to be expected to be doing, but I would assume that the assumption is that you will be able to generate code more quickly. And I read an interesting article, which I'll dig a link out shortly, about how often the creation of the code is not the bottleneck. Like writing code faster just moves the delays further down the chain, be that in reviewing or testing or deploying or whatever it is. The problem just moves if you're just generating code quicker. So I'm interested to know what problem Red Hat are solving with AI. And I don't think that is explained very clearly here.
The problem seems to be we're not using enough AI, so we need to use more of it.
It does seem a little like that, doesn't it? I don't think you or I, Joe, are going to ever be caught of singing the praises too much. But, I can see that if you want to improve your overall processes, whatever they may be, but firing more and more code and building things quicker. You have to build it quicker. It's like, what are we building? I don't know, but build it quicker. It's like, it seems to be a bit of a frenzy at the moment of middle management maybe making these decisions and not being the ones responsible for the code development. And all serious taking the side that the fact that Windows fucked up over the past year and a bit. Every release is a shit show, and whether you can blame that entirely on AI or not is another question, but clearly something within the culture of the company has changed. There was some stuff that was said there where, an ex-Microsoft engineer said that a lot of the Azure problems that they've been having lately is the exodus that was made possible by the fact that all the AI they were forced to use, they lost a whole lot of key people because they just went, right, I'm fucking out of here. Whether that can be taken as a grain of salt is another question, but,
Well, it seems to me that mandating AI use or, strongly encouraging AI use in an organization is a symptom of something much deeper. I mean, it's a symptom in society of this laziness and we've got to get it done quick, and who cares about the quality and all the rest of it. It's that culture that has allowed this thing to happen. I don't think it's necessarily the other way around. And so what are you going to do? You just have to wait for this to play out, wait for the bubble to burst, see what's left at the end of it. Some of it might be useful, some of it might not. The ethics of it will be questionable at best. But what can we do? I mean, this is just inevitable, isn't it? I feel defeated at this point, like really fucking defeated. And I've said this a couple of weeks ago, I think, when we talked about using software that's got AI bullshit in it. Like, it's just inevitable. We can't get away from it. We can moan about it, and I fucking will. With my last fucking breath on this show, I will moan about it. But that's all it is at this point. I don't think we can do anything about this.
What confuses me about this situation is that I have an understanding about why startups want to leverage AI. They want to build more code. They want it to be of, better quality or more testing or more automated testing. And they want it in the market sooner. And they want to be all things to all people. And AI gives them that ability. What I don't understand is where Red Hat fit into this picture. They are already established as, world leaders. They already have all of the products working. I mean, presumably they fix bugs in those kinds of things, but I don't really know what they do there. They are already at the front, and I don't see anybody really chomping at their heels. So what are they hoping to get from this?
To be quite honest, I think that they stand to lose the most out of this, because the one type of client that Red Hat has is the large Fortune 500 companies who have a mainframe they have replaced with Red Hat. What do they want it to do? The same fucking thing it did when they bought it. Yeah, just be more secure and maybe faster, a bit more modern. But what they don't want it to do is fuck up, because if it fucks up, that's the end of them.
Surely, though, that is an argument not to change anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to go to a new supplier, not to buy the Vibe-coded alternative, which is half the price.
No one buys Red Hat to say, I need to be on the cutting, bleeding edge of serverness with has it even got a 4 kernel at this point? I'm sure it has, but I'm being slightly disingenuous here. But
yeah, look at what Canonical are doing with the Ubuntu support that they just keep extending to the point where it's like 15 years or something, if you're willing to pay for that. Because it's not exciting, it's not the new shiny shit, but there's a lot of money in legacy craft and basically charging people to maintain their technical debt. But it seems to me that Red Hat, someone at Red Hat at least, isn't interested in that.
Cough, IBM.
IBM, again, you don't think of IBM as like this cutting edge company or whatever.
No, but I bet they've got a data center full of AI bollocks they want to sell you.
Well, yeah. Now, before this memo was leaked to the Register, I did see some rumblings about this on Mastodon that was never properly verified. So I was not at all surprised when this Register piece came out. But part of what I saw was something about customers are basically using the AI to make their own SaaS solutions, and they are working at a faster pace than Red Hat are. And so Red Hat feels that they have to kind of compete with that by going down the AI route to be as quick as their customers. Some bullshit like that, which seems like a very short-sighted view to me from a company that is as established as Red Hat. Like you said, Will, I understand totally some young upstarts who want to get a bunch of VC money and just get the thing out the door as quickly as possible, vibe code the shit out of it, don't care about quality, do not care a tiny bit about ethics, just want the money. But for Red Hat to do this, it just seems short-sighted to me. It seems really, really short-sighted. Introducing mDash, the spiritual successor to WordPress that solves plugin security. From Cloudflare. That shower of bastards. This is going to be great. Yeah, a fucking vibe-coded version of WordPress. Yeah, sign me up.
At least they put the clue in the name, calling it mDash.
Yeah, exactly. At least they're fucking straightforward with it. This is bullshit. Don't use it. Big red flag. You know that idiots will use it anyway.
There's a lovely ethical hacking and cyber defense pact bundle available on Humble. I'm going to study the bejesus out of that, and I'm going to make so much money hacking the crap out of a thing that they wrote in apparently 2 months. I don't understand why you would race to get something like that out and not check everything. It's going to be a shit show. Oh yeah, you've solved the minor plugin issue and introduced an entire new subset of software. Good luck with that.
Well, I find it interesting that this is MIT licensed, whereas WordPress, of course, is copyleft, GPL 2+, I think. So this, again, I mean, it is a kind of complete rewrite that in a different language and stuff and different frameworks, whatever, but it is kind of more of that license laundering that we talked about before, that, you know, the end of copyleft. And with a company like Cloudflare behind it, you know they're going to get away with it. It's, again, a grim fucking future. But like anybody who would run this in prod, like, I mean, okay, maybe spin it up to have a look at it, but like, Jesus, I mean, WordPress is bad enough. Never mind a fucking vibe-coded ripoff of it. Jesus.
I think that this product and this story will become interesting or more interesting in a few months' time when people either have adopted it or have just walked past it and left it alone. It looks suspiciously like WordPress, like identical to WordPress, and they make it very easy to import your pages and your articles and posts and whatnot. They make it very easy to import all of that stuff. So I can see there being a few people out there that are interested in testing it out. But I think most sane people have probably moved away from WordPress these days anyway. No, what am I talking about? Of course they haven't. Everybody's still using it.
Yeah, it still runs a massive bit of the web. I don't think it's fair to say sane. I think there's a lot of people who are trapped into like Frankenstein's monster of a WordPress install with loads of plugins and hacked code and shit. We are moving our website over to a Hugo-based thing, and it's almost done now, actually, funnily enough.
It took you longer than actually creating mDash.
Yeah. GIMP posted on Mastodon, numbers for the fun, known numbers only, about GIMP 3.2.0, released on March 14th, and then how many times it's been downloaded effectively. Over 1 million times for Windows, the Windows installer, over 50,000 times from the Microsoft Store, macOS DMGs more than 150,000 times, and they estimate 300,000 active users on FlatHub, but 359,000 active users of the Snap. I mean, first of all, that is a hell of a lot. Like, GIMP is a massive project in terms of users. I mean, it's such a big win for open source, isn't it?
Don't think there's much of a problem with that name, as people would like to believe there is.
Yes.
Seemingly not, no. No, I mean, free Photoshop is pretty appealing, it turns out, even if it is a little bit different here and there.
I think people are able to get over software differences an awful lot more than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
It's worth mentioning that this was posted on the 25th of March. So, like, what's that, 9 days later? So that's not even to when we're recording this. This was over 9 days. That is really impressive.
GIMP's interesting in so much as when you first start using it, it's basically impossible. You can't work out how to draw a filled rectangle of a particular color. And yet once you persevere and you stick with it for a period of time, a few months perhaps, then suddenly you start to learn it and you start getting quite good at it. And then you really explore the features that are in there. And it is an incredibly feature-rich, useful tool. I wouldn't use it in place of, in inverted commas, MS Paint, but I do use it for editing and touching up and what traditionally Photoshop would be used for. I do use it for those kinds of things. And it's brilliant. And to know that there are some millions of people out there using it is really good news for GIMP and for open source software generally.
It is interesting that 300,000 on FlatHub versus 359,000 of the Snap. What does that tell me? That tells me that the 300,000 is all of the non-Ubuntu users pretty much, and the Ubuntu users are 359,000, so slightly more.
At Joe for that one, not us. We didn't say that. He said it.
Well, you know, there's potentially the apt versions and DNF install or whatever on Fedora, but that is interesting to me Because I have long suspected that Ubuntu is massively, by far, the biggest distro, like an order of magnitude or even two more users than the nearest, second place. And this somewhat backs that feeling up. But it's just one data point and we don't know.
They also mention app images in the thread, saying they had 20,000 downloads of app images for 3.2.0, which is also interesting.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that, everyone.
I use one. I'm sorry. And I feel bad every time I do. The Nextcloud client is app image or, not. So.
No, but the numbers say it all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, Snap and Flatpak are very mature at this point. Either one of them works fine. Or just get a slightly older version from the repo like I do, because I don't need new shiny features. But I too use it quite a lot. I used to use my ancient version of Photoshop that works really nicely in Wine, but more and more I use GIMP to the point where I haven't used that Photoshop in years at this point.
Good.
Yes, it is good. GIMP, as you say, Will, there is a learning curve, but once you get over that, it's great.
Or use Krita because it's excellent. It's even better.
I knew you just could not fucking resist it, could you? Krita is a completely different thing. Krita is more aimed at artwork and painting.
You can use it for photo stuff too.
You can, if you really, really want to.
I have made comedy pictures of people and I have used Krita and I can just about nail those two things together, even if one of them involves screen capturing the desktop with the picture in the other corner because I didn't get the layers to work properly because I have no idea what I'm fucking doing.
Well, I think Krita is better if you just want to quickly open it and draw a cock and balls. Right, well, we better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when who knows what it'll be. But until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.